Trader，我们来看一下今天这篇文章。So welcome guys, welcome back to Zodiac Trader. So today we'll be looking at this article. Here are the tools that China uses to manage the yuan. 那未来的一些视频呢，我会尽量以这种双语的方式去进行一些解释，因为我觉得比较麻烦的事情是在我做这个频道的过程中，因为我的一些观众，那有国外的，也有国内的。所以要录制2次真的是比较麻烦，所以也恳请各位听众呢，能够以一种英语学习的心态，然后可能对于国外的人来说，可以学习一下中文这种心态去听这些视频，因为我在交易的过程中，其实也没有太多的时间录制这些视频，所以恳请各位的一个理解。So basically, I'll be making this video in both of Chinese and English, in both languages. Because I have many, as you can see from this channel, we have many offshore audiences that don't really necessarily speak Chinese, though, which is the reason why I will in the future try to combine both languages in one single video so I do not have to waste my time nor yours to make 2 videos for one content. So I beg you for understanding. So in the future, most of my videos will be made in dual languages. So thank you for your understanding, and sorry for any inconveniences that it may cause. 那今天我们来看这篇文章。Here are the tools that China uses to manage yuan. 我会快速的去把这篇文章读完，然后在后面加上我的一些点评。这篇文章其实重点在讲中国政府是用哪一些工具来去给这个人民币去做一个定价，去管控人民币的。我觉得是一篇非常好的文章，也非常难得。So basically today's topic it would be really kind of intriguing because for most of the foreign investors, China's economy system runs simply as very untransparent and it looks like a black box. So today this article tells you exactly how Chinese central bank manages its currency, most importantly yuan, and through all these different tools. So I think it's rather important to read this article. So I will try to finish this article as soon as possible, and by the end of this article, I will try to summarize and give a little bit of comments on this topic. So let's do this. Monitoring how the People's Bank of China handles its managed flow system for the foreign exchange market isn't easy. The central bank has various tools at its disposal. Some are more transparent, like the daily reference rate, while others are murky, such as the potential for Chinese authorities to secretly urge banks not to bet against the yuan in proprietary trading. With the currency once again near the weak end of its allowed trading band and close to a record low offshore as a potential trade war looms, risks are rising that authorities may step up efforts to stabilize it. 所以第一段讲的很简单，就是讲说这个是怎么样管控的这个浮动汇率系统，如何通过这个 daily reference rate 去，就是每天的一个参考率，去让这个中国的金融机构去维持这个人民币的牌价。So basically, this is how the Chinese central bank they're using and how they are manipulating the Chinese currency value. They use it through a very important tool called daily reference rate. So other financial institutions, while looking at this rate, would give a bid and offer of the renminbi price, and that's how they set the daily price of the renminbi yuan. So the first part, how important is the daily fixing? It's the most obvious tool they say a PBOC has to influence the currency. It sets a reference rate each trading day at 9:15 a.m. Beijing time, around which the yuan is allowed to move 2% in either direction. The rate takes into account factors including the prior day's official close at 4:30 p.m. The yuan's move against a basket of currencies and changes in other major exchange rates encouraging declines at the official close allows the central bank to set weaker fixings without sending a strong signal on policy of destabilizing markets. A reference rate that's significantly stronger or weaker than the market expectation is typically considered a signal from Beijing. 其实就这一段就提到了这个中国人民央行的这个每日的这个定的这个牌价啊，它每一天都在做一个 fixing， 就是所谓的 fixing 就是固定价格的动作。那北京当局是允许人民币向两个方向就是各自去自由浮动2%，但实际上会不会允许你这个2%的移动，实际上是画问号的。那实际上还是这个官方会去给它定一个大概一个汇率的一个范围，所以如果你看到如果这个人民币它的这个比如说这个 CNH 它的浮动超过了2%的范围，那这个非常可能就是从北京下达的一个直接的一个指令去做一个人民币汇率的一个直接的一个 fixing. So it's rather important for us to really understand the daily fixing procedure because the PBOC, unlike most floating system, it is a fixed, I would say a semi-floating system because it partially allowed that the currency to move 2% in each direction. So it looks like it's kind of like a free floating system, but essentially speaking, it's not. It's a fixed floating system. So if you are looking at if today's RMB or CNH or most of this exchange rate moves more than 2%, that would be, very, very likely that would be the direct signal or say policy directed from Beijing. So you have to understand this is their very important tool to manipulate or to control the renminbi price is through this daily fixing process. 那所以你看到这张图 yuan declines despite of steady fixing set by PBOC. 所以你看到人民币近期的一个走势是什么呢？脱离 PBOC 的控制的。So as you can see from this chart, recently we are seeing this red line diverted, onshore yuan spot is, basically diverted from the PBOC fixing. So because there will be two ways of looking at it. One could be the Beijing authority approves it. The second reason might be simply the central bank has less power to dominate the renminbi because of its diminishing reserve, its diminishing forex reserves. The second part, how has it evolved? The fixing has gone through rounds of reform over the years. To make it more market-based, China started to allow the yuan to trade within 0.3% of the fixing against the dollar in January 2006, widening that to 0.5% in May the following year, 1% in April 2012, and 2% in March 2014. In August 2015, China devalued the onshore yuan in its most dramatic foreign exchange reform in a decade. To make the fixing more transparent, the PBOC laid out the factors that banks need to consider as they submit prices for the rate. Third part, how can the PBOC guide the fixing rate? In 2017, the PBOC introduced a counter-cyclical factor in the fixing formulas that commercial banks use to calculate and contribute to Beijing's daily reference rate. The move was made to avoid a fixing that the central bank deemed excessively weak. The component was removed and then reinstalled in 2018. Before lenders stopped using the factor in October 2020, market speculation of a further reintroduction to support yuan emerged in 2022 as the fixing rate gap versus forecast widened to a level that couldn't be explained by calculation based on a regular fixing model. So the fixing deviation from estimates has become more visible since 2023. making it stronger clue as to where the PBOC line in the sand is. For most of the last year, the fixing was stronger than estimates, with the yuan under pressure from soft Chinese growth, a lack of forceful stimulus, and US tariff threats. In evidence of the reference rate, huge impact on the market, a slight drop in March. 2024 jolted global currencies as it fueled speculation about depreciation risk. Since Donald Trump's victory in November, the US presidential election bolstered the greenback. The PBOC has been drawing a closely watched line by setting the fixing at levels stronger than 7.2 per dollar. China could strengthen the fixing impact to the market by maneuvering banks' pricing. Some banks that submit fixing quotation were said to have tweaked their models to lean against the yuan weakness in August 2022, without attributing the change to a reinstatement of the counter-cyclical factor. There were suggestions in the tool was being deployed again as the yuan weakened in mid-2023. The fourth part. What else can the central bank do? One of the latest tools for the PBOC is so-called foreign exchange reserve requirement ratio that sets the amount of foreign currency deposits banks need to hold as reserves. A change allows the central bank to fine-tune liquidity in the banking system. For example, cutting the ratio would ease the supply of foreign currency, thus propping up the yuan. The PBOC raised the ratio twice in 2021 to 9% by end of the year, then cut it 3 times in 2022, 2023 to 4%. Before those changes, the ratio hadn't moved since 2007. So what about less formal measures? State-owned banks selling the dollar versus the yuan in spot trading is seen by market by a type of shadow intervention, which occurs from time to time. Since 2023, traders also observed large transactions from the lenders in the foreign exchange swap market, another method which could prop up the yuan. The banks borrowed dollars via swap contracts which can be sold in the spot market to support the yuan. Chinese officials aren't averse to talking their currency up or down when needed. The PBOC standards line is that the yuan will be kept basically stable at reasonable equilibrium levels, while stronger verbal intervention could appear in multiple forms. The official comments seen since 2022 aimed at bolstering the yuan involve the requirement on banks to respect the authority of the fixing, pledge to adopt comprehensive measures to stabilize expectations, to resolutely prevent risk of big fluctuations, or to crack down on behaviors that disrupts the market and prevent the building of one-sided bet as well as an overshoot in the exchange rate. In addition, to guide the market expectations, the PBOC tends to cite statements from the China Foreign Exchange Committee, an industry organization founded by key participants in the onshore markets under the guidance of the regulators. Some of the comments can be targeted at specific trading. In 2023, Chinese regulators reminded traders of their increasing attention towards stress on the yuan in a slew of actions, including urging brokers to cut back proprietary trading, ordering lenders to report on currency trading data, and conducting surveys among market participants about capital flow. Sixth part, which can be done against speculation. Driving up cost of betting against the yuan offshore was favored as a tactic when China wanted to curb declines during years, including 2016, 2018, 2023, and possibly early this year. The key is to mop up liquidity so traders have to pay higher interest rates to borrow the yuan. That can be achieved by having agents banked by the currency or decline to lend their supply to the other banks. The PBOC can also increase the yuan bill issuance in Hong Kong, which is by far the biggest market. It announced a plan to issue a record 60 billion yuan in bills in January. For the onshore market, the PBOC had additional tools to boost the cost of yuan bears. PBOC in 2022 reimposed a risk reserve requirement of 20% on currency forward sales by banks to clients, a tool it had deployed during the China-US trade war from 2018 to 2020. The move puts punitive fee on the speculative trades in the derivative markets, raising the cost of bets to short the yuan. Seventh part, how about capital controls? Controlling the flow of funds in and out of the country is one of the bluntest instruments. China moved to limit outflow in the wake of the yuan devaluation in 2015, imposing restrictions on everything from overseas takeover by Chinese companies to consumer buy insurance policy in Hong Kong. And there has been little to cite or to let up as the US Federal Reserve began to tighten monetary policy in 2022. Chinese state-owned companies were asked to exercise greater caution in new overseas spending and investment plans. The central bank could also tweak the limits of overseas borrowing or lending for financial institutions and corporates, as well as was seen in the early 2021 and 22 and 23. The PBOC adjusted some rules to allow onshore companies to borrow more overseas, which might also help increase foreign capital inflows. Conversely, the government fostered capital outflows during the yuan's advance in 2021 by initiating new channels with Hong Kong for mainland investors to tap the offshore bond market and wealth management products. 8. What about foreign reserves? China's foreign reserves are among the world's largest at more than $3 trillion. Policymakers sold billions of dollars in the aftermath of 2015 devaluation to support the yuan. While this can be a useful indicator, it is also influenced by boards gains in the dollar, which can lead to a drop in China's reported reserves. These declines are not necessarily a result of intervention, but rather because non-dollar assets in China's stockpile will have depreciated against the dollar. The reference self, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, you can definitely check these links. May provide very important message, especially this working paper. Okay, maybe next time I will spend some time to do it. 所以我们现在来看一下整篇文章，其实基本上就是谈到了中国央行控制汇率的几种常见的工具啊。第一种就是 reference rate 啊，每一天给你出具一个参考的一个汇率，然后让你去按照这个价格进行人民币的管控，买入跟卖出，这个叫做 daily fixing。还有这个每一天的这个 reference rate， 然后再着呢，这个第二个呢，第二个呢，这个 PBOC 有其他一些工具，包括它可以运用互换，通过这个 swap 的同时呢，它也可以通过这个所谓的这个 foreign exchange reserve requirement， 它可以通过这个外储的一个准备金率。去增加它或者是调低它，每次当它去调低它的时候，它都可以通过这种方式释放一些美元，卖出一些美元，然后注入人民币，把人民币做一些拉升所以它也可以做这个工具这个是第二种工具。那么再来呢，就是我其实是把 daily fixing 跟这个 reference rate 算成一个，然后我再把这个requirement 这个reserve requirement 设成第二个，然后接着是它可以去做什么呢？它可以去做这个shadow intervention， 就所谓的就是潜在的这种介入，就通过信用互换 通过这个，因为离岸的市场本来是一个也是比较多的限制管控的市场，所以它可以交易员或者是银行可以去通过互换介入这些美元，然后卖出美元去支持去拉升这个人民币。那这个同时呢，那个第四个工具，央行当然可以像是美联储一样打嘴炮它可以去用一些 statement 的方式去进行一些口头上面的传达。那当然呢，人民央行也可以通过调升这个借款的这个利率或者是这样来阻止，就是有人在境外去卖空人民币所以这也是其中一种工具。好，那同样的，它也可以通过 currency forward 第五个工具它可以通过 currency forward， 就是通过货币的调期，那通过这种方式来去就是调整人民币的一个汇率。然后也有包括这个禁止，比如说它因为这个中国的政府有无限强制力，所以可以让老百姓就是不换美元，少换美元，然后可以在各种地方设置关卡卡住你。那这个只是在2015年的时候就发生过，就是政府大规模去干预，不让就是人们去换汇，或者是不让大型的公司企业去通过一些海外的并购案，或者是减少并购的规模，那通过这样的方式，或者是就是原本要去给国有企业去做的一些海外的并购投资计划，然后给你取消掉，或者是给你提升一些利率，给你增加一些困难。那他就通过这样的方式，同样也是可以把这个外汇储备留下来，然后去对人民币进行维稳所以你可以看到，包括最后的一个工具就是通过这个外汇储备，就 foreign reserve。那这个中国拥有全世界最大的这个 foreign reserve 之一，就是将近3万亿美金。因为过去中国一直在跟美国做生意，然后赚了很多的盈余，所以它的外汇储备严格上来说，但是也是可以动用它的外汇储备，然后去拉升或者去干预它的人民币的一个汇率的。所以今天呢，主要这篇文章呢就讲到了这些机制。So basically, we know from this article there are several measures that PBOC be able to apply when fixing the price or say control the exchange rate of yuan. Okay, the first tool would be through daily fixing. The daily fixing will be applied through setting up a reference rate, meaning that all different banks would have to follow this policy and this order. So they will set up a rate for traders to buy and sell dollar in order to control the renminbi's rate. So basically, that's like this is how you said the rate takes into account the factors including prior day's official close at 4:30 p.m., the yuan's move against a basket of currencies, and exchange in other major exchange rates. So basically, you could use different fixing to send different signal to different banks. So that's how they they use daily fixing process, the fixing tool, to manipulate the price of renminbi. And also, the second tool to be able to use is that China is able to use that the onshore yuan they could devalue their onshore yuan, or they could they be able to sell dollar to and strengthen their yuan, be able to boost up the value of yuan. Okay, and the third tool would be something called these in counter cyclical factor in the fixing formula. So they use this as a way to calculate and contribute to Beijing's daily reference rate. So that move can be made to avoid fixing that the central bank deemed excessively weak. Also, central bank would be central bank be able to use the change the foreign exchange reserve ratio, be able to release to cut down the ratio, be able to boost up the price of renminbi. And there are more more measures like something like swap. They be able to use the swap, and also the foreign market. They were able to sell, buy, or borrow dollars from offshore market, be able to manipulate the price of renminbi. And also, you see, they also be able to limit the outflow, capital outflow of individual people or corporates. And now they have, so basically, they have many tools be able to control and to use to manage the value of yuan. So this article is very important in terms of understanding how the yuan fixing of yuan, how it's operate. So thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you for your time. If you like the video, please sub and give me a like button. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.